Discovery, which is the oldest and longest serving shuttle. So Brian, take it over from this point.
So Space Vidcast is a website that rebroadcasts the NASA feed, and also they have people that are space savvy that put together programs as well as live feeds that are narrated. And there is also a conversation that happens in the sidebar here. So what's happening is this is in association with Ustream, which is a website that shows streaming video. They're picking up the NASA feed. What happens is they've been playing commercials in order to pay for the provision of the resources that it takes to do this. They've been playing commercials at the front of the videos, just like they started to do on YouTube now. But previously, Space Vidcast would advertise, they would have their own commercials advertising coffee. They're located up in Minnesota, and they're taking the NASA high-definition feed and rebroadcasting it over the internet in high definition, in contrast with the NASA.gov site, which does not, it makes it difficult to get the high-definition feed. And they also provide commentary, and then you can log in as a registered user and then participate in this sidebar conversation, where if you can read this, you'll see that there's a lot of inside talking back and forth and abbreviations going on that are of interest to people who have a inside knowledge or a relationship with one another. So I'm going to try to bring up just the video on one side, and then, so if I can bring up the audio, it looks like the conference is over, the discussion of the shuttle, and they're back to showing the mission control room in Houston. But this conversation that's going on here, I really haven't been following it today, but did you eat this morning? Uncle BS and milk. Hey, Beppy, Shane says he could hear all the commentary from Astros to Houston. Oh, that's cool. They did all their own comm checks and etc. Man, I can't wait to see Pick's video. Man, 2 hours ago there were 12,000 people out there. Now it's you and me. So right here, it shows how many viewers are currently watching. And so there's just under 700 viewers and dropping. And
So it won't bounce and back up. Some people get on something else. It's about 680, goes down to 679, now it's up to 681, 682.
yeah, but during the shuttle launch, there were 12,000 people who jumped on, and now
I'm not sure the thing actually got off the ground there.
Most of them are probably not registered users.
Discovery is an area over the Indian Ocean where communications with Mission Control in Houston are going to be strained at best. It's an unknown situation and will only last for a few minutes. But it does give us an opportunity to look at some video. Major onboard activity.
Why are they so straight communication with Indian Ocean? Don't get one of the Peter satellites up, or they don't have that many ground stations there?
I'm sorry?
Communications can be straight when they're over the Indian Ocean there.
I didn't understand. I didn't catch that part of the communication, but is that in the texting or is that in the audio?
That was in the audio there.
So,
This camera view is from inside the payload bay. At the forward end of the payload bay on the port side, it's known as Camera A. The orbiter docking system is in the lower left-hand corner of the frame. As we see first the starboard side of the payload bay door swinging open.
watching a launch at home, you might want to go to this website. This is at nasa.gov, but it's KSC, which stands for Kennedy Space Center, and science.ksc. So science.ksc.nasa.gov.
Payload bay door opening occurred on schedule and went just fine. There were no issues. The starboard door opens first, and in a moment we'll see the port door open.
Where was it?
Beyond the orbiter docking system that's in the lower left-hand side of our frame. If you look at...
I just wanted to mention this. Every 45 seconds, this matrix of video screens gets updated. And so they have a weather channel, there's a NASA TV channel, then they have the Launch Complex 39 area. They have a view from Launch Complex 39A, the payload processing bay, and the high bay and the payload processing bay, and so forth and so on. And of course, some of these buildings are dark right now, and most of them are. During launch, it can be very informative to see what NASA TV is showing, what's going on in the launch pad, and the weather at the same time, updated every 45 seconds, which does not saturate your communication line or your computer processing.
Well, this location there is science.ksc.nasa.gov/shuttle/countdown video.
Right. And so the way I got there was just by searching for it through Google.
So what you're looking for initially is under Science KSC, right? Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah, but I think the easiest way to do it is just to go to if you just remember NASA KSC video feeds, and you search in Google, it's going to come up to the top. It's going to come up the top hit. So that's probably the easiest way to get there.
You know, one thing I'll try and do that I can't, not sure if they're still doing it anymore. Lou, Lou, remember when the NASA Glenn, or NASA Lewis, Glenn, Ham Radio Club used to rebroadcast the audio portion of NASA TV?
145.670.
Because I haven't been able to pick it up recently. I've usually been able to pick up, I got the VHF scanner you gave me, and I got another good one, includes aircraft band. And I can't see the
Yeah,
pick it up recently. I don't know if they're broadcasting it. Because that would be, if you don't have NASA TV and you had a good VHF receiver, you could go for that one location there. And it was the local NASA Space Center's amateur radio club out there. They used to do the broadcast. And whenever the shuttle was up, they used to rebroadcast the audio from NASA TV. So if you go late nights, and they do something, go to bed 9 o'clock. And about or about 8 or 9. And right now we're going to be waking up the NASA crew at about 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. And now our crew is closing down its operation. They're going to be heading. Then we'll give you another hour. We'll give you a repeat wrap up of the NASA operations. And I haven't picked that up at all. And I think that was the time we were flying there. You had to be working on NASA Moscow time. So you might have another way to listen to this stuff besides NASA TV.
So just so you know, George, that site's right here.
What, for rebroadcasting there?
Yeah. And you can find that through Google.
It's got scanner.
So you just type in the search terms for the Glenn Amateur Radio Club.
Good idea. Check it out. See if they're actually broadcasting it there. Used to be past the shuttle flight. You try and pick up the some radio downlinks of some of these things, but I don't think you can. At least with the frequency they're using, which is both mainly microwave flights there. So it's STS 135. And this is what, Expedition.
So if you go to NASA website and multimedia, and you go to NASA TV, and it has 4 channels. One is the public channel, the next is the media channel, the education channel, and the live space station video. There's also a channel for NASA employees that's not accessible to the public. The education channel is probably showing something interesting. For me, on my Mac, it opens the QuickTime video player instead of playing it in the plug-in. I don't know what happens on
saw the video of the shuttle and payload bay doors being opened, and got a glimpse of the payloads there in the pickup truck bed portion of Discovery. You can take a moment now to get you better acquainted with what's back there in the payload bay of the Shuttle Discovery. We have some animation prepared to help you better understand what's there. The largest payload is the permanent multi-purpose module, the MPLM known as Leonardo, which has been modified for permanent attachment to the International Space Station and will be the last pressurized element.
When the audience is quiet, it's always difficult for me to get a feel for what is of most interest. So what I did was just switch here because I got 3 video channels and I have to silence one of them. If you want to listen to the discussion of the launch glitch, we can do that, and we can listen to this the Leonardo thing later.
That's what if you want the cargo transports in the space shuttle, as you say, now it's for permanent use there.
Is there any consensus there?
Yeah, like you're putting your back half on the pickup truck, and now you got it about outside your house there.
Good to go in it. Really, that's just to protect the underlying silicon substrate from any kind of exposure at all. It's a very, very standard repair. You see them all over the vehicle. No big deal.
Question over here.
So this was an hour ago.
Randy Avera with Interspace News for Gertzmeyer. Have there been any proposals from the commercial space industry to develop plans or to operate the Eastern Missile Test Range for commercial flights out of Kennedy Space Center, the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in general for the future?
I'm not aware of any, but I don't know. It's probably the easiest answer. I wouldn't be informed of them directly if there were some, but I don't know of any. So I think the answer is really we have to get you a more detailed answer, but I don't know of any. And you know that some are already flying, right? The SpaceX already flies off a launch pad, 40, et cetera, right? And Orbital is planning to go out of Wallops in the future, but then beyond that, I don't have any knowledge.
Hi, gentlemen. Phil Keating, Fox News. So we have the entire day of fantastic weather, no technical issues at all that NASA's following all day, and then 15 minutes before the window opens, you've got what's described as this computer glitch. The implication was that all of the humans involved here know it's just a computer glitch, that it's not reflecting a serious, real concern. So could there have been a point where, even though the range is saying red no-go, that they could have been overruled and the launch commences?
That's an easy answer. That's no.
Absolutely.
They are the launch decision authority for range safety. We are the launch decision authority for our vehicle. And if they are no-go to launch for range safety, we will not launch that day. And just like I was trying to make clear at the beginning, the process of hearing me on the loop telling Mike the range has given me a go, pick up the count, that doesn't mean proceed without them. That is get our team ready to go. So when the switch is thrown, we're not delaying any further than we have to. And we're still waiting for their go to proceed. And that's exactly what we did today.
Sure, Mark Simpson for WMFE Public Radio. Just wondering, since there was more foam than normal coming down from the shuttle when it reached that point in its liftoff, how does that impact the inspections that you'll do when the shuttle flips over and you take pictures? Will you be focusing in a more detailed way because of that extra foam at all?
So when I saw the launch live, you can see the orange main fuel tank has a conduit running down it, and it's all covered with foam. The video that looks down that conduit, it showed the orange flapping like this. So I don't know what was going on, but maybe that's what they're talking about the foam covering on the main fuel tank.
It's interesting, because I always thought the foam simply came off in pieces or what they're worried about.
Yeah, but it was very noticeable in the video, which
It would be no. We have the standard plan, and we'll go do the standard inspection. We'll also get a good chance when we get the umbilical well cameras down. we'll actually be able to get some good pictures of the tank. The lighting was excellent, obviously, on orbit, so we'll get a good chance to see exactly where we had foam loss from the tank. There may be more than what I saw in the SN video. We get surprised when we actually see some areas. But then the standard inspection is pretty much our routine inspection. There's nothing that would cause us to do anything different than we are. We have a very thorough, very methodical plan to go take a look at the bottom of the orbit, and we'll just continue with that same plan.
Okay. Any additional questions?
James Dean from Florida Today. Just wondered how unusual it is to actually launch later in the window than planned. For Mike Leinbach, unless I missed it, I don't think you got to deliver your usual send-off to the shuttle commander. If you'd like to deliver it now, I'd be curious.
And it was going to be so good, too. I'll save it for the next commander. We've launched late before. There was another mission I recall we launched with 11 seconds left in the window. But you know, we have launch windows on purpose. We train for them. It probably makes it feel even better when we launch late in the window because you're working hard and you know you've accomplished something really great, and the fact that you've done it with just a few seconds left to go, probably makes it a little bit more sweet.
And to fall back on what Mike said, you know, we practice so much. When you first asked your question, my response was, I can't remember ever launching on time, but that's because we sim all the time going late in that window because we're working issues. So it's almost second nature to us to not be so worried about the end of the window.
Hi, Mark Kirkman, Interspace News again. I'd like to stop talking about hold fires for a second. And to me, this is a big deal that Discovery's never going to leave the pad again. I was just wondering if the three of you could tell me where you were the first time Discovery did. Some of you were working with the program, some of you may be too young to have been with the program, but was it on your radar at all? What's your recollections the first time Discovery flew compared to today?
I was in Consul in Houston, Texas as a propulsion officer on Discovery's first flight.
And I was in college dreaming of being like Bill.
And my wife and I were down here on a house hunting trip. I just got the notification that NASA was going to hire me. We came down on a trip, and we got the first launch I ever saw was a Discovery launch. And so, yeah, it brings back good memories.
How long has Discovery been flying?
Stefan Olegan for Italy's News 24.
If I went to the Wikipedia site right now, we probably have an update on
Let's keep going with this and check it out later.
there's 18 more minutes of this. So.
For Mike Leinbach, this is going to sound kind of a funny question, but do you have speed dial on your phone when you talk to the commander of the 45th Spaceway?
That's really not that bad a question. We have point-to-point phones, and they are hard lines. When you pick up the handset, it automatically rings on the other person's console. Mike and I have one. As you said, we both have one to the commander, and it's for that very purpose. I mean, it's to get in, as quick as communication as you can, and we use them every now and then. Mike and I, we use ours quite a bit, probably in every countdown, just to talk about different things. So, yeah, no, instant communication is a good thing.
Jim Siegel, Celebration Independent Newspaper. Again, I wondered if Mike Leinbach could hold up that banner again so some of us who weren't quick on the trigger could get a photo of it.
Now?
Yes, well, whatever. You can wait till later.
Washington Associated Press. I'm wondering if any of you have communicated with Tim Kopra, and do you know where he might have been for the liftoff?
I have not communicated with him. I think he's in Houston when I ask, and he's going to participate in the EVAs, so you'll see him on console helping out with the EVAs to make sure things go well. But I have not talked to him directly, but I'm pretty sure he was in Houston for the launch.
James Dean, Florida Today. all the reports we were hearing were that there were just massive crowds out there, and I'm just wondering if you're surprised that we're seeing this huge show of people and interest and emotion for launches now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's funny, everybody calls and asks me for advice on when to leave to get here and what the best road to go is. We're all here for launch 16 hours before launch. We have no idea what's going on outside this center. And we don't leave until after you guys stop asking us questions. So hopefully we miss a fair bit of the traffic on the way home. So, but no, it's natural that the final flight ought to deserve that type of attention from the public. And it certainly is within the NASA family. We've, as Mike talked about in one of the pre-launch conferences, there's a whole team set up to kind of look after the morale of the workforce, what we can do not only to help us make it through this time at the end of the program, but to commemorate the work and the dedication and the lifetime energy that these folks have put into this program. And so we have extra car passes for families. We had arrangements that were able to bring folks that normally need an escort but their spouse works the console and they can't do that. We had ways to get them on site this time. And so we really took some extra steps, and it's deservedly so, to allow folks to share the experience of seeing Discovery go for the last time.
Chris Gephardt with NASASpaceflight.com again. I got to ask a technical question. The minor bus issue that you worked earlier in the count, can you just give us a little bit of information about that?
Yeah, it had to do with our, actually it's our range safety system. We had a little bit of a spike on one of the ground buses, and it was a 6 amp spike. It took out our ground IRD, or integrated receiver decoder, which is a piece of equipment we use to test out the range safety system. So a piece of ground support equipment failed. That caused a spike in the bus. That's not a requirement for launch. That's a ground checkout requirement. So all the tests that we did after that failure it checked out perfectly fine. I mean, the range safety system from our side was never an issue at all.
Any more questions?
James? Sorry, one more. Bill Gerstenmaier, you discussed this a little bit before, but until now there's no guarantee that Shuttle would make it up there to join all these other vehicles at once, and so you could keep talking about this fly around and stuff. So just wondered, again, after your emails from the ESA folks and all that, just your feelings on, I guess, what you think you'll feel when you see Shuttle docking and joining all those vehicles up there.
You know, I think it's a pretty unique time in the history of spaceflight. If you look at what we're doing with space station, right? You know, the HTV launch first. There was a progress undocking and launch in there. Then there's the ATV launch, and then the shuttle launch. So this is a pretty amazing time on board space station. The crew is tremendously busy getting activities done and getting the station really outfitted for the kind of the final time with the final things. And adding this new module is a big deal. So. I don't know. I think we just need to step back and reflect on these times, because this is a very, very intriguing time in terms of the number of vehicles going to space station and the activities that are occurring on station. This is probably unprecedented in history of human spaceflight, the amount of activity to one single destination, all focused around the same thing, and all the partners around the world that essentially they're working together in these activities. So that the tie between us is much stronger than I've ever seen it before. I get congratulations from Japan and ESA at all hours of the day and night, because, you know, it's many hours different from there, and they're staying up watching launches from Japan and ESA, and I'm getting texts from them just like it's daytime. So they are following our activities with the same, I guess, the same enthusiasm that we are here. And what a neat thing to see this entire international team pulling together to go do this activity. So I think spend a little time even during the mission to watch the EVAs, watch the interactions between the Canadians that are working in robotics, watch what's happening with ATV at the same time. We're going to do a little reboost with it here in a couple days, actually probably prior to docking of the shuttle. So this is a really neat time for you to step back and watch and see how this international ballet and dance comes together in space, and it's pretty special if you spend a little time to look and see how it all fits together.
Mark Fowler from the Arizona Republic. Following up the question a minute ago about the crowds and the enthusiasm and the surge of interest, and I may be jumping the gun just a little bit, but have you given any thought, I know it's a little premature, to what is likely to be an awful lot of attention on 134 with Mark Kelly and his wife and what the ramifications that might be.
Well, you know, from a planning standpoint, we'll go through the normal process to see what type of attendees we're going to have and launch guests. But no, we haven't done anything extra special. We go through the normal rigor from a safety and security evaluation. You know, the number of people we allow on site is limited by our range safety rules that allow.
Yeah, who is this guy? Bill Gerstenmaier is the guy with the mustache. This is early Alzheimer's.
By the way, I'm just checking the history book, the history of Shuttle here. The first Discovery launch was in June of 1984.
Wow.
So that's 20, what was it? 26?
26 plus.
26.
I think it's been refurbished since it was first launched.
In fact, it was interesting, that article that got brought in from December 6th issue of Aviation with the Shuttle era. And they're talking about Discovery coming down, come up where, and Discovery has flown 38 launches. That's history there. Brian, keep going there with that.
Okay, did everybody get their copy of Ad Astra?
Yes.
Okay.
For public safety, then the crowds outside that fence are just kind of what's to be expected. But no, I don't think we put a lot of serious thought into that one. We're still a little bit away from that in the planning process standpoint.
Randy Avera, Space News. All the investments that have been put forth by taxpayers and other investors to build the International Space Station, once we get it completed and, you know, its most mature configuration, what is the mechanism by which the taxpayer will understand what they got for their investment? We've had spin-offs and outreaches by NASA for decades, but we still have a societal problem where people don't seem to understand the tremendous return on their investment in space hardware and space operations. Is there some new vision for relating the science that's coming off of this International Space Station?
We're trying to work with the science community to try to get that information out to you in a better format. And you'll see some information we're going to be providing to you that I think you can use and understand. The problem is some of our researchers don't want to really share that information until they've really confirmed that the findings they're finding are really 100% peer-reviewed and analyzed and all those things. But we're trying to put together a series of products where you can look at just some of the numbers and the amount of investigations that are going on the space station. They've dramatically increased the number of hours that we're doing research on board station. We're looking at unique things like combustion and zero gravity, which is some pretty unique experiments that are occurring that are going up. We've been working with vaccines, vaccine potential development for salmonella, et cetera. There's even some on this shuttle flight that went up for that. We're doing lots of robotic activities. So we're going to put together some publications and some things which we think will be helpful for you to use, that you can help us get the message out of what's going on with station. But I think our public affairs folks would be glad to hear from you. If there's a better way we can communicate with you, you could get with our public affairs folks. Maybe we can generate some products that are easier for you to use and distribute out to the population in general. And it would be, it's an international product that we're trying to put together.
Yes, my name is Chuck Lauer. It's a WOW satellite television from Japan. In the military, when a unit stands down, there is a retirement of the colors ceremony typically. Do you have anything special planned for Discovery when she comes back and goes to wheel stop?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we have some ideas. There's nothing concrete. Again, we've talked about this before, that really the job has been focused on getting it in orbit, getting the mission done successful. Once we hit wheel stop, then we'll start talking about a commemoration. But for us, the program still continues, even though from a team perspective, we do want to recognize the commitment of the team and the effort spent, you know, here at Kennedy especially, by people who have dedicated their particular career to that vehicle. But as a program in general, you know, the shuttle program still has a couple more months and 2 more flights that we need to make sure we stay focused on and stay targeted on. So we've talked about some interim type things that we'll do, but we're probably saving the celebration type stuff until wheel stop of the last mission.
I would just tell you too that after wheel stop of any mission, you know, the orbiter is still hot.
there's still hazards on board, different fuels and commodities and pyrotechnics, that type of thing. So any type of widespread celebration here at the Kennedy Space Center would follow all that safing, and that takes a good 3-4 weeks, something like that, typically to get all that done. And so, we would wait for all that to be done before we'd open it up to masses to go do something with the orbiter, if that's indeed in the plan. I'm not quite sure.
We've done some things for employees and families. As we do the rollover to the VAB, we stop for some pictures for some of the employees that have dedicated their lives working on these vehicles. When we roll out to the pad now, we let the employees come down for the rollout to the pad, which is also a chance for them to reflect a little bit on what they've dedicated their careers to and dedicate a large portion of their life. As far as the end-of-mission things, we'll think of all that later a little bit. We're still pretty focused on making sure we utilize this asset in the best way we can and stay focused on the mission we've got in front of us, and then we'll talk more about what we think the appropriate thing is to do at the end.
Any additional questions here?
This guy is doing
We'll take one more and then we'll wrap. James Dean?
James Dean from Florida Today for Mike Leinbach. I gathered from the commentary that there was, among the closeout crew and maybe 15 various positions that we get to see on TV, there were some folks who were working their last mission. I was wondering if that was true of any folks on your consoles in the firing room, if there was anything special done for them, or just about, just how many folks were kind of working their last.
Operator, he took a voluntary layoff. Today was his last launch. Our safety console operator, Dwayne Thompson, this was his last launch. He took a voluntary layoff. So yeah, there were a couple people there who chose to leave after this launch. But as I described before, we have a very rigorous process in place where we look at all critical skills across the Space Center and determine whether we're go or no go based on the head count and the experience level of those people. And so right now we're perfectly fine for the next 2 missions, and I don't expect that to change. We'll be good. We'll be good till the end.
Okay, that concludes today's news conference. For more information on station.
Comment about information. If you got get online.
Discovery's payload bay doors were open.
National Public Radio this morning. I didn't hear the afternoon. They had an item about history of Discovery. It done in the form of "This is your life, Discovery." Our Space Shuttle there. So you can get on. The nice thing about public radio is we go back to the prior programs. We go out in this morning's morning edition. They're talking about the space flight and Discovery there. It's interesting what things I've done here too with Air and Space Smithsonian, and the guy who did the first flight there, test flight, is about 80 years old now. So it's like it's been around a while. We're all getting old, and shuttle flight control room here. One time I think it was one of our conferences, International Space Development Conference, we got down into that mission control room. I think it was for a shuttle flight. It was up there. And it's sort of a different thing when you're looking at that. I think they changed it since we were down there in 1998 or so. I think more changed around, but you've got this sort of long, narrow screen. Nowhere it is as wide as it looks like that, like it is on TV there.
A moment ago, we saw the video of the shuttle's payload bay doors being opened and caught a glimpse of the payloads there in the pickup truck bandit portion of Discovery. It'd take a moment now to get you better acquainted with what's back there in the payload EM.
are showing what's going to be going up in the payload thing, looking at that. That's probably that was really the Italian contribution to the space station, cargo carrier. Space station, yeah.
A moment ago.
Oh, we have big gas. What's going on there?
Doors being opened, and caught a glimpse of the payloads there in the pickup truck bandit portion of
Speaking of
Discovery.
big gas, Brian, did they ever broadcast on Thursday evenings or?
We're acquainted with
Oh, yeah, all the
what's back there in the payload bay of Shuttle Discovery. We have some animation prepared to help you better understand what's there. The largest load is the permanent multi-purpose module, the MPLM known as Leonardo, which has been modified for permanent attachment to the to the summary of what's on the schedule coming up in the next 11 days for the Space Shuttle Discovery and their time on board the International Space Station. Discovery is now orbiting above the central Pacific Ocean, just crossing the equator, and on a course to cross the west coast of North America above Southern California, near the Dryden Flight Research Center in a matter of just a couple of minutes.
I'm looking at the path that they're showing, Brian, and that's going to be, that we wouldn't have a chance to see it, like going down across Southern California, coming back up over to South America.
Well,
Oh, here we go, little paths there. Of course, the problem is, we don't, the cloud cover we've got is pretty good.
this one was probably most prominent. The ground track, this would have been visible, very visible, if we didn't have cloud cover.
Okay, now that time, 1855, that's 5 minutes to 7.
Yeah.
How about 90 minutes later? It should be either upper or below, higher or lower than the ground track there.
So this one's not too visible because
Okay, 2030, 2029
it's
is
really low on the horizon because it's so far away. And it's really near the edge of
8
the...
o'clock later tonight, so if we're looking north, except given the cloud cover, we can. Yeah, the downlinks on the shuttle, I don't know if there's anything you can actually pick up unless you have a microwave receiver of some type. The star party.
So this Canadian website tells you what your viewing is going to look like. And if you go down to the Cosmic Orchard, that's the closest private observatory near Columbia Station. Thursday it's almost 8 o'clock, which should be 20 hours. We see the cloud cover is not dark. The darkness is dark, but the seeing is bad. The transparency and the cloud cover are all bad. So this is a better viewing time than...
So we what, Friday morning or so?
This would be Friday midnight.
Okay, I'm looking up your time sheet. I'm looking at a single number thing, because it's 3.
So if we go back this way, yeah. So Friday at midnight, except there's no passes at midnight. So basically, the limitation on the visible passes of the International Space Station are along the lines of the maximum altitude. And the higher the maximum altitude right here, the higher the visible pass, because there's going to be a longer transit time, and it's going to be easier to see because it won't be so near the horizon. It won't be near the light pollution. It won't be get caught in the trees. The farther away it is, the lower on the horizon it is, and the harder it is to see because you have so much diagonal line of sight through the clouds if there is any.
Well, it's usually something you see also out near dusk and dawn, so the sun is coming up over the edge of, or going down over the edge of the earth.
Yeah.
So you have more light will reflect. So the light will be reflecting off the shuttle object there.
Well, this site tells you the times of dawn and dusk, but
Oh yeah, heavens above there.
what you want to do is really look for a high number here in the maximum altitude, and so you're getting this is 7 o'clock, so an hour ago was the best time
mag there, that's what magnification, or what does that mean on the, this thing there?
Magnitude.
Brightness. Up the top where it says mag, next to the date, and it has dash
Right.
2.2.
Right here.
Well, that means.
Brightness. Negative brightness is
Brightness.
brighter than 0 or +1.
No.
If
Oh, magnitude, okay.
If anybody wants me to send them a list of these website addresses, I can do that. If you just send me an email.
Okay, so anytime being bright, that should go for a negative number.
Yep.
I looked that up one of these days. This is on what, Brian, this is on what, Google here?
This is on the Heavens Above website.
Oh, definition magnitude, okay.
So the Heavens Above website is very extensive because it not only has the International Space Station, but it'll show you all the, right now the current position of the International Space Station is right below Australia, between Australia and Antarctica. But you can predict the sighting of any satellite from any point on the Earth as long as you it's selected from the map or by name or by a coordinate. And keeping in mind what time zone you're specifying. So it'll give you 10-day predictions for the International Space Station, the new NanoSail D microsatellite, and the ATV, the transfer vehicle, the Genesis hotel prototypes.
That's, who puts those up? That's Bigelow, yeah, that's Bigelow.
Yeah, Bigelow, and the SAT, and the Hubble Space Telescope. So, except for the space station, all of these are positive magnitude usually. So they're going to be in the city. They're going to be at the limit of your ability, your visual acuity, and so you're going to probably need a tracking telescope or something, or know exactly where you're supposed to look with binoculars.
They're almost saying, the thing we need to do with that job out in Rio, the south of Rio, right in the countryside, you can aim straight up.
Well, I've gone out to Jaga County. If you go out to Jaga County, there's lots of places where it gets really dark. But even so, there's light pollution. So the daily predictions, they give 10-day predictions for these satellites. So for example, the NanoSail. The magnitude of the NanoSail is all greater than 1 here.
No, it's positive, little things you can't see in that level, right?
Right. But if we go back to where is it? The International Space Station, you have all negative magnitudes. And even so, sometimes it's hard to see. So anyway. Then, in addition to specific satellites, it'll give you predictions, daily predictions for all satellites, and then you can choose your magnitude. For example, 3.5, and then it gives you a list of a couple dozen satellites that are coming across. So this is just one night. You can get an idea that there's lots of stuff up there that we aren't noticing.
Because they don't stand out too much as compared to other things.
And everything in blue, you can click on it and get a more description. So it lists the United States Space catalog number and so forth. Some of these things, it shows the orbit, and some of these things, it shows the what the satellite looks like. For example, the International Space Station.
Can you show the location of the shuttle right now?
Location of the shuttle.
Yeah.
What happens is, the next shuttle mission will be 133 currently scheduled, so this wasn't updated. But what's going to happen is, because the shuttle on this mission is going to the space station, it's going to be in an orbit which is very similar to the space station. So the predictions for the space station are going to be similar to the ISS.
Okay, because I look at the ISS and what they're showing on the thing was over Southern California right now. You check it out, see about the NASA website there for.
You think this is not accurate?
No, I'm not saying it is an accurate, I'm saying it, I think NASA website would have more of a chance of showing what the shuttle is right now, because they have it.
Let's find out.
So,
Let's find out. Yeah. So, there's, NASA has a site that is more or less easy to use. There's also this N2YO site, so right now the shuttle, this is the station. The station's over in New Zealand watching where the earthquake was. But the NASA has their own site for human space flight, and you go through this,
in Ohio, they hit Cleveland.
Harlan's not big enough.
Yeah, I tried before.
So,
We'll get to show my nephew what things are. Now, today is the 24th. They got what they can say, but don't they have a list of maps thing, or don't they have it up yet?
oh, now, hold on. This is a text printout of the International Space Station, and then this is the automated transfer vehicle, which went up. You know, during the news conference, they were talking about the automated transfer vehicle was going up there, and then there was another satellite that I think was canceled in the launch, but and then one of the Soviet vehicle left. The shuttle sightings are listed here too. So, for some reason, back in a couple months ago, if you take a look at the internet, it says the next shuttle launch opportunity is February 27th. Now today, it's February 24th. So I don't know how they got their computations off, but
I think they meant if they missed today's window, then the next opportunity would be the 27th.
that's possible, but that's not the way I understood it, because they were talking about they were talking about launch windows. So anyway, this hasn't been updated. So obviously, what's happening here is that there's a conspiracy to defraud us about whether the space shuttle is up in the orbit or not.
Maybe it's not really up there, but they're just making us believe it is.
So, I don't know what you want to believe, but anyway, I guess you just have to call. You have to call. There's a phone number you can call. I met a guy at the International Space Development Conference. If you call 1-234-56789, then you get this guy who lives at Cocoa Beach, and he tells you exactly what's going on. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, J-Track. So if you go to J-Track, and I don't know, J-Rack? No, not J-Rack. It's a nice J-Rack. J-Track. Does Google know about J-Track? Yes. So. Let's not use maps. Where's the J-Track? All right, fine. Or actually, no, I just put NASA in here.
Well, J-Track, do a future project, we can try and figure out what's, amateur radio satellites are up, we try to take one up there, or see downlink. It's interesting, some of the downlinks are not going up in the higher frequencies, you'd be able to get the 2 meters, and downlink comes down at, 440 megahertz or something.
Heavens Above has a whole section devoted to amateur radio channels.
I've set things up, showing topic, how do you track satellites up there, or how to listen to the satellite. Or how to listen to amateur radio, but there's also, these have some of the weather satellites up, which you can still get.
Yeah, you can pick some of them up too.
That might have been interesting now, people are interested, how do you track or listen for satellites, because I know, I'm not sure if they still have those up, Lou, you might know, but they used to have the weather satellites you could pick up to broadcast anything directly from the satellites above.
I think they're on 130 or 136 megahertz. I think I've heard some of them, what radio was using. I think they're using that, like the space that's a buzzing sound, the packet.
Yeah.
They use that a lot.
With the buzzing sound, then you have to run to the computer to get out
Yeah,
the picture out there. The nice thing about getting with the personal computers, there's a lot of functions you couldn't do. You have to do some expensive or complicated ham equipment. Now you get the right program, you just stick it in there and run it through there.
Okay, so this is the problem with the internet. If you don't have it running on your machine, there's no guarantee it's going to be there when you want it.
Also, you know, if you look at your height, you're showing those satellite orbits. If you get close, and you have to make how many satellites you got to find around there.
But this is what JTRAC looks like. It shows you how many satellites are currently in orbit, and you can see it in 3D.
Now, those should be, I think, the geosynchronous satellites there.
And I hear last week that they had some major solar flare crop up on the sun, and they figure it was going to disrupt communications. Maybe that's the problem now.
Yeah.
Space weather, yes. Some of the things we need to also look up from sources. They may know a good source for some of the NOAA programs, because I'm checking, they have some of them in the library here, but try to find some recent things. When Brian ran across something about the space shuttle and something else, and they have some interesting things that you can tie to NOAA Science Now, which I think is one that has on the creation.
Well, I think PBS.org has one there.
PBS got what?
PBS.org, the public broadcasting website, I think they archive their NOVA shows on there. I think.
Okay, so this sounds like an obvious question that George is asking, but if you go to PBS, the website, they want you to buy this show for $30.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How about YouTube?
YouTube, yeah, we're looking on that, but
Yeah, for a topic of something like, the people that do some real department.
just like the videotape of these meetings that Stephen has so graciously provided on YouTube has to be searched for and to be found. So, Stephen, tell us where it is, so everybody can see themselves on.
It's on my site.
It's on your site, which is called.
I ain't putting the name of it yet, but I'll give you an email and I'll give you a name that we give to everybody. You go on YouTube, you type it in, you see it.
Just look up YouTube, or do you have something with the
YouTube.
name on it there?
I gotta think of the name for it, just
Oh, you haven't got one up yet.
topic, we're talking about stuff like that.
Okay, and so just for your information, when you use Google, you can restrict your search to a particular site. So just by prefacing it with the word site, a colon, and the name of the site, the URL, the name of the site. So if you just want to search nasa.gov for these search terms here, and you preface it with site :nasa.gov, and it'll search for it only in the nasa.gov domains.
But, trying to go into that one. Oh, are those tutorials from Stapio, or? Back up, where are those tutorials? Tutorials are out of where?
Yeah, these are all the universities working with NASA, so.
No, okay, we're looking at a site called SHART.
Yeah.
That stands for what? What is SHART?
The Center for
Health
Health
Application
Application
Healthcare
Technologies. This was supposed to get us to JTRAC 3D, but I might as well forget about looking for it because it's too hard to find now, it looks like.
We also go back to NASA TV until they go to astronomycenter.org. What the other thing to talk about, it's interesting to look at something there and talking a picture of the discovery from a mission, talking about the workhorse of fleet. The orbiter shows the wear and tear of 38 trips to and from orbit. found it because a whole set of a history of space shuttle and the recent things, and we got a hold of this, and we'll probably get reading it, because the first 2 or 3 chapters are how they designed it and why they designed it. Look at a few brown text. Well, they talk about it in the first line about NASA started developing a space shuttle after the White House dropped missions to Mars via a space station. They're talking about that. In fact, their original design for the shuttle was going to have a shuttle D on top with some space, but they're also talking about designing a sort of a booster type thing, which would be returnable, land, and you would fly it up there, return back. So everything would be returnable. Now it talks about 12 million. Unfortunately, they're doing it in the latter part of the 70s, about the 80s. And the Office of Management Budget said, okay, fine if you can do it for $5 million. NASA said we can do this for $5 billion. NASA said we can do it for $12 billion. Let's say they went for $5 billion. $5 billion said it was $12 billion. In fact, the problem looked like that they had are basically because nobody wanted to spend that enough money to do things right the first time around. Yeah, okay, this is, we're just showing down, Brian, and down below, you covered over what the chronology of what they're going to be doing with this flight, right? The Discovery. Because you sometimes can't get NASA TV on your computer there.
You can't?
Well, that's okay.
The problem with NASA's website and NASA TV is NASA's website is way overloaded with stuff. So if you don't have a robust computer, if your computer's prone to crashing, if it doesn't have enough memory or enough, it'll run out of disk space, or you have a slow connection, you're likely to crash your computer by going to nasa.gov. Then on top of that, if you start streaming video from NASA TV, then you really
They used to be able to do it, but last year I can't think of anything in NASA TV anymore. I think they got a whole new system going, yeah.
So,
Sure. Yeah, piece of paper. Sure. Yeah, piece of paper.
No, I don't really. I swiped a piece of paper out of the, one of the computer printers. You need the paper, so. I don't have a piece of paper. I just get some.
Did you see one blank one?
Brian, do we have some, school paper here around someplace?
Sure, there's some around here. You know, you were mentioning the figure of $12 million. I heard last week that the Army sponsors NASCAR, one of the cars. I forget which number it is, and they've invested $7 million into this for the whole year. And they're thinking of cutting back on this because of the budget situation, but they got such a big outcry from the Army about it because they consider good publicity for them that they're going to keep $7 million.
Logo on the car there.
Yeah.
Maybe we could get some more funding for Shuttle to put some logos on the outside of the shuttle there. Of course, the trouble is when things come down through atmosphere, a lot of things get sort of burned off. Like, who was it? Well, they put a flight up sometime last 20 years or so, somebody's logo on the outside of it.
well, they had Pizza Hut.
That was I think, a Conestoga rocket.
Interesting.
What's interesting thing about, they've been talking about recently in regard to the, what's the word for it? Commercial space flight thing. So they're trying to get a few of those up, and they like the Dragon X, Falcon 9 and the Dragon X, they should be flying, because now when in orbit came back down again safely, now you're going to put supplies aboard, now we'd be down, so. Now they have something, after a while they're going to work on trying, after about 9 flights of the Dragon X, and they're going to put people aboard, astronauts. In fact, where was it, the famous SpaceX, you got the, Brian wasn't there, but was it the, first Washington DC, ISDC, I got to around 2000-something odd or so. They had a full-scale mock-up of the inside of what they're working on. I think it's SpaceX or, I think it's SpaceX or somebody else. It was interesting because you simply had the equivalency plug up on top, you got the cloth thing that holds down, seat bends down, and that's it. No big acceleration couch, you're sure about just cookies in the hammer. On the inside there, but I had some more space, it was for about 3 astronauts. So they've been working at that, and a lot of things to work at, trying to get space planes up. Like one thing I mentioned, there's an article, not an issue of Aviation Week, but since Singapore's working on it. So you'll have, try things, you got something equivalency the size of a Learjet. You got 2 engines on there, you got a rocket engine, and you go up like the height of which gets the next 15 used to get up there. So right now I'm running in some mission, New Mexico, trying to get some problems with the cost of building their space field at Albuquerque there.
No.
Not even that much of a problem. Look, you got a concrete runway, you guys put in the hangars, and people build things, bring their own equipment. So, of course, right
Kennedy
now,
Space Center. This will show you several different views of Discovery's final liftoff as it's headed into space for the last time. So we will return after that back here to Mission Control Houston with an update on this orbital adjustment maneuver, as well as an update on the cruise activities so far. This is Mission Control Houston.
launch, replays.
Okay, so what happens on NASA TV is after you see the launch for about 8 minutes, then they go into replays. But they don't appear on the internet until later. So if you don't have a streaming video recording player, you have to wait until they show up on Space Vidcast or YouTube, where NASA has a channel, or this is from the Internet Archive. And I don't know why it's not playing.
They have this thing button now. Those launch replays from it says from the VAV roof, TV number 5.
Liftoff as it's headed into space for the last time. So we will return after that back here to Mission Control Houston with an update on System Control Houston. Maneuver, as well as an update on the cruise activities so far. This is Mission Control Houston.
We can talk between the walls.
Where we were going into that. It's interesting, you know, the Discovery had 38 flight mission, they started in 1984, so they've been flying good bit, but you know, they should be able to fly more, but some problem with cost between missions. In fact, if you get all the article, hang on to mine, realizing I got here. We had the Aviation Week issue for December 6, 2010. We've got an interesting question about why they cost and why they start canceling. Of course, the trouble, they got canceled, but now they canceled, they have new thinking, what are they flying? At the moment, I think your best hope at the moment is they get Virgin Galactic gets successful and starts running their suborbital flights. If they really get smart, then they're going to start flying some of these ground launch ones. Yes.
Gee, what if that earthquake in New Zealand took place at the same time the space shuttle was launched?
Yeah.
They have attributed the earthquake to...
Somebody probably was.
Well, you know, you see the thing go off.
Somebody coast to coast AM.
You don't hear it until a minute later. But
Hey, Pinto, for the
Does it cause a seismic wave that can be recorded?
yeah,
when you get back, we'll be looking for 3-6 and 3-7.
you don't feel it on the ground though. You feel it coming across the. There's a shockwave. It's not as much as a shockwave. It's just a.
Hey, Ben, we got your back now. You can do 3-6 as written. We'll take the power down on time. And Pinto, for the ohms to burn setup, if you can set a TIG of 38:30, if you'll manually enter that, you can do the load and timer.
You feel the same sensation in your ears? There's some teenage kid outside
Good reason.
in his car.
That's what that water tower, they release that water to take up some of the shock. That's what the water's for, when they, the water tower. Part of it's to
correct, Tim, and if you've got the time, you could probably squeak in the umbilical cord closure before the power down if it works out that way.
Okay, we'll plan on doing that.
Good deal.
Okay, so it's just want to confirm 3830 or 3800?
3830 as you have loaded up on the pad, you can take that one and load.
That's what I was thinking about too, is now with mile makers painting a tank, now you're looking for paint things, get to your hobby shop, look for Shuttle tank orange.
It wasn't always orange.
One thing to do for Aries project was using one of those signal boosters instead of having 4 segments come up, so it was 5 segments on there, putting a capsule on top of it.
Yeah. We haven't had a lot of the solid rocket boosters lately, so what's the
Not lately. I just want to get into it. We're talking about the problems on this thing, and the guy keeps on referring to Space Shuttle and History of the National Space Transportation Mission by Dennis R. Jenkins, which I unfortunately haven't found last week. I got it this week, so. And I'm looking at this thing and asking, why did they make the decisions that they made? So I haven't had a chance to start reading it.
Yeah, why weren't they smart?
Yeah, well, I learned about something, it's like the thing they're talking about, rereading the first 2 articles here at lunch today. That's the idea is, you have a perfect way to do it, $12 billion to do it. OMB says, forget it, we're going for $5 billion. And one of the arguments you had with the Augustine Commission was the same thing. We can do something except they're not funding NASA's budget at the level to do it. The question is, what's coming off the rocket? Is that the exhaust, or is that actually the moisture from the sky there that's sort of being affected by the shuttle going past it?
Well, I think when you study propulsion, you find that the atmosphere changes as you go higher, and then so does the pressure pressure curve of the rocket engine changes.
Yeah, that's why they've got some changes. In fact, some of the newer rocket figures, the older, they're having a round barrel-like device that they sort of keep on pushing back, and the thing goes higher, so you have more of the pressure that pushes against the rocket coming up there.
Oh yeah.
So it works a little bit better in vacuum space there. And there you just have the SRV separation there. In fact, well, the other thing I want to check up on this thing and see if the good old Freddie Proxmire, one of the people who helped kill the Challenger astronauts. Radcross mentioned somewhere of a hearing he had. One of the safety equipment things they're doing was going to put a large parachute on the front wall of the shuttle bay. Now, if you look what happened with the shuttle, the whole thing broke up, but the section where the shuttle crew was in was still intact. So I know it was intact, near somebody lied, or somebody hit the oxygen vial for the pilot to get him, for him to try and do something. It's like, of course, if they had the parachute stuck to the back shuttle, the back of the crew compartment there, they might have stayed because they could have slowed down their speed of descent. Because when the Challenger crew compartment hit the water, it hit about 200 Gs. Yeah. That's always pointed out, I remember years recently too, that air is compressible, water is not. So,
yeah, the report on the accident is kind of gruesome.
Well, it depends on what part of the accident you want to get into, about what happened to the bodies, what happened to the crew, or what happened to cause the thing, to separate the things.
You remember this, right? The biggest rocket engines ever made, the bell of the fuel expansion started growing up the side of the vehicle because of the the pressure flow. So
Stephen, you see, look at YouTube, you've got a date there you're going to put it on, right? 26, which is Saturday or next Saturday. So we're looking for what? CVS meeting, right? Okay. Part 2, part 3. Okay. All right, part 2. NSS logo or CVSS logo will be displayed before each video and after, so.
Was that a Saturn V you showed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are massive rockets.
Yeah. I hear they lost the plans for that.
Really?
Lost the plans for what?
The Saturn V.
That's a great rocket.
No, they didn't. That is, the thing keeps been going on for years and years. The plans are around somewhere.
Hey, Tim, just so we're following
In fact,
along with you, we
listen,
think
listen,
you're
we'll-
complete with
we'll
all
go
of
find
page
out the
3-6
Go
and
talk to
3-7 in the
the Federal
post
Security Service. They probably have the original plans.
And, George, that's correct, that's exactly where we are, and we also have block 2 complete.
Okay, block 2 is complete, thanks. And for your maneuver, it's only a 4-minute maneuver, no rush to get to it.
Okay.
We'll have a giant countdown clock.
Yeah.
Brian, you know where this watching site is?
Yeah, that's right next to the VAB, I think. The vertical assembly.
Distance-wise, how far away is it?
Well, that's like 3 miles away, you know.
Oh.
Brian went down to Florida hoping they have a tour there. When we got down there, found nobody mentioned the tour, and the tour they're going to have take was filled up already. Down in Orlando.
Oh, South Beach.
I went on one of those tours. I went on one of those Cape Canaveral tours. It was great. Went in the bus, went to the launch sites. Awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about, trying to remember.
They have armed guards when they take the astronauts out to the launch pad. They got like an armed, convoy.
Yeah.
And he says it's prevention of terrorism, but it's also insurance that the astronauts are going to go through. But it's a joke, but
If you look at last Sunday's travel section of Plain Dealer, they had, I think, 2 different articles about taking tours around the Cape Canaveral or Cape Kennedy there, which I unfortunately didn't read there.
They have bald eagle nest. There's a bald eagle's nest somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Orange grove, orange trees.
Oh, yeah, the orange tree, in fact, there used to be just an orange grove there. And, well, I think you also got around there too, if you look at the water and ponds and water around there, I think you got a canal. There's quite a few alligators around
Yeah,
there.
they have alligators too. We didn't see them, but the tour guide pointed out and they saw some, but I couldn't see them. But they got
Sort of, among green trees and the green things, you're difficult to see them unless they're moving.
They've got a volunteer group that comes in there and they clear off the animals off the runway prior to the
Shuttle landings.
Shuttle landings. Yeah. Volunteer.
Brian, sometimes we've been walking down from our hotel down to the shopping center going to the subway. And we're walking down as there was a creek going like past. People I think we should possibly have a few alligators maybe.
Yeah.
If we wanted to. In fact, Brian, I am still on their hotel list as a customer so-and-so. And
I'm still getting emails about discounts.
So I said a bit about, so-and-so, we have 2 free nights at only $99 a night.
Yeah.
Like I can afford it.
Well, we should have gone down there. What is there? There's 2 more flights. So.
Well, the last flight after that was Chicago, which was easier to get to. It was a pain if you're up there trying to find a place to eat inside the hotel there. This year we'll be down at Huntsville, Alabama, I think it is, yes. Middle of Huntsville, hotel there. Can find some nice place to eat, cheaper place to eat. One of the tricks to go to any kind of conference on a budget thing is, unless your company's paying for it, if you're doing it on a budget, you may eat at the conference hotel once. Every other time, you get out there, you go out 2 or 3 blocks around the building, around the hotel.
Hey, Discovery, just for your info, we did have a minor ground site issue. We lost comm with you just for a few seconds, but we're down redundancy. So independent of which satellite we're on, it's a white sands issue. We got you good now, and we should have you. We also will have a teacher's handover about 3.5 minutes before almost 2. We should have a good lock all the way through the burn.
All right, copy all that, George, thanks.
Yeah, so
You bet.
Talking about why they can't get communications in the Indian Ocean, I don't think the Deep Space Network is the network that's being used to track the shuttle.
Right.
So.
I'm thinking more of the Tigris thing.
Tigris? You mean the tracking data relay satellite.
Okay, tracking data.
It's supposed to be a weather satellite, but it turned out to be a CIA satellite.
Yeah. Well, nice thing everybody's doing now with these space stuff is, you also have page of acronyms.
And Houston, block 5 in work.
Well,
Thanks for
so
the heads up, block 5 in work.
Block 5, I think they're referring to pages in the manual.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
And so we got an update on the Comet White Sands. Everything was recovered, so we're back with full redundancy.
See, this thing about...
All right, copy that, Score. Thanks.
Sure.
For the launch, of course, they have visual, they have visual redundancy and everything. But I don't remember during the Mercury space flights that they had to have such high security or...
Probably not illegal thing. It's only recently, last 20 odd years.
Oh, yeah, with terrorism and everything.
And it's only recently they've been putting video feeds from the vehicles. I think there was a film, they used to have film canisters in the shrouds between the interstages. And so when the first stage fell off, it threw a film can down that was recovered. But that wasn't a live video feed.
Right.
This is Mission Control Houston. Once again, we're taking a look at some replays from the Kennedy Space Center of today's launch by Discovery. In a little more than 6 minutes, Discovery will be performing an orbital adjustment maneuver using both OMS engines. It'll last for 1 minute and 3 seconds. We'll continue to fine-tune the shuttle's approach to the International Space Station, setting up for the docking.
It's not resistant.
That will take place the day after tomorrow. Also coming up at the top of the hour, at approximately 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, we will have the post-launch news conference from the Kennedy Space Center with NASA Associate Administrator for Space Operations, Bill Gerstenmaier, and Mike Leinbach, who is the launch director for Discovery's flight today.
My camera's amazing, looks electronics, I don't have any money for it, but you can get almost TV camera grade video on this thing about this big. It only costs you about $100, $150 or something, maybe cheaper. It's amazing what they've done in miniaturizing camera and then selling the stuff to people. Now this, curious where they're taking this shot from.
Well,
On the ground
so
or-
we can, I mean, the orientation on Pad 39 is what?
So
South, southeast, more east than anything else.
The shots that are, the video shot that is normally shown from the, taken from the northwest, shows the shuttle in a profile view, right? With the fin toward the northeast,
And I'm
the tail
thinking,
fin. And so then after it takes off, it does a roll on its back.
which is doing
So this is taken from north of the eastern test range up to the coast.
This is taken from a telescope on the ground or from a plane?
That's what I'm sort of wondering about, telescope on the ground, well, that almost looks more like a plane from the angle and how close it seems to be, because the ground stuff never seems to look that good. However, so the good-looking stuff may also be under classification too, so.
Well, they have.
This looks like it's running out, it should be popping off soon, your SRBs there.
Whether one of the cameras would be attached to it, looking down.
There we go.
You click it.
Brian, this is before, but they showed the booster rocket separating from the shuttle fuel tank.
Yeah.
And as one of the rockets was falling, it looked like it was running right into the space shuttle.
Yeah.
Well, that lower thing, yeah, came across the,
Optical illusions.
Yeah.
Isn't that your
see
specialty?
the plane with the shuttle, and you see the other little line going right in front of it.
Right, that shell had to be miles away.
Oh, yeah, but the, what's the word for parallax view, or the
Yeah, that would be illusions.
You know, maybe it's time to send another 80-year-old guy into space. How about Dick Goddard?
Space weather.
So you volunteering for that. Whiten your hair a little bit,
Yeah.
He refuses to go away. Sort of someone told me she was in her mid-80s, she's still working at DFAS while her daughter retired from it.
Well, you're not the only one who said it.
I don't think there's that many.
George, weren't you telling me that there's a guy that's working there well past retirement age?
Probably, in fact.
I thought about it.
It's a guy, my aunt, who died about 2 years ago, and better going downtown 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Okay.
At the time, she was still working at the federal building in one of the apartments. Because she learned the computer stuff, and she was the only one who felt safe enough to open up the mail. Stand her opening up the mail and doing the, like she'd open the mail or take the mail, but she'd also, she learned on the computer because she was one who would show up for work, about 80 odd years, and she would show up for work, which is the problem that they had for the younger people there. Okay, this is your separation from
That's
the,
what I'm talking about right there. That's what I'm talking about.
oh, is that?
So what's going on?
Is that the base of the shuttle there?
Yeah.
So is this a camera artifact, or what's going on with the
That's,
vibration here?
Oh, I see your vibration, I'm more looking at the bottom of the shuttle there.
So we're seeing a good config for your home tuber.
This is a normal view of the bottom of the shuttle, that's what it normally looks
Does it
like.
usually have that like spot on the thing?
Yeah.
That's
It's
something there.
Yep.
Yeah, but I realize, that whole thing is shaking there.
But you can see this is just basically, it's just a styrofoam cover, and it's going 90 miles an hour, so it's just flapping in the wind.
Well, if it's flapping in the wind like that, usually means something's loose there. In fact, I was wondering, the original problem that they had when I didn't fly was they're having some problems cracks in the tank, and maybe one of the reasons too, why things flapping is they're repaired.
Like this, like.
Well, the reason why things flapping, when they did repairs in the tank, they may have left a few voids, and they thought, well, it'll go flapping, but heck, what the heck, otherwise you're not going to fly.
Well, if it's a styrofoam jacket of some sort, it probably has some air that gets underneath it a little bit.
Well, it was one of the problems when we first building the stuff, and what I worried about after the Columbia disaster was trying to make sure that the styrofoam stayed on the tank there.
Yeah, well, as you can see, there's a
Okay,
problem.
now it looks a lot better
Mission Control
now.
Houston, as we continue to watch these replays of Discovery's launch today, we're just about 17 seconds away from this orbital maneuvering system engine burn. It'll be both of the OMS engines on either side of Discovery's tail. This burn will last for 1 minute and 3 seconds.
Okay, so the solid boosters fell off here.
It'll change the velocity of Discovery by 65 miles per hour, which is about 96.4 feet per second.
Increasing or decreasing it? I'm presuming increasing it there.
Well, the audio is...
And the team here in the room confirming that the orbital maneuvering system engines are burning.
So that OMS burn is going on, like an hour ahead of this, what's going on here. But you can see, you have to wonder what's going on, because the camera lens distorts the picture and makes it difficult to interpret what's happening. If you take a look at some of the SpaceX video also, it looks like the vehicle is made out of a cube or an obelisk instead of a cylinder. And you're wondering, how can the camera make it look like that? But so, is this an artifact of the camera vibrating, or is it the styrofoam, I think it's polyurethane coating that is subject to the pressure?
I don't know what the coating called, it's like polyurethane of some type there. But I don't know what it's talking about. So I think if there was just the camera vibrating, you'd see more vibration than the other things there. Let's see, it's 8:35 already. What is VidCast saying anyway, anything interesting?
Well,
It's amazing sometimes looking at this thing afterwards, that you don't have people interested, intelligent people, you don't see too much intellectual comment out here.
Well, I mean, they can't really write a book in 140 characters.
No, but I would expect some wit and some intellect among
Okay.
the lines.
So, who wants to read this? That shuttle tracker link is cool. Hello? Becky, you're back. Glad you like that place for Dave Williams. Oh, here we go. Oh, we can't. Oh,
Space Diva, is there a woman on this mission?
Yeah, there's two women.
Yeah.
Two women on this mission.
Oh, that's one of the people that's commenting, that is one of the people there. Space Diva is a, internet name of somebody who gets onto the website, that site there.
I thought it was one of the astronauts
Oh, no.
on board.
Okay, so
Satellite tracking.
this N2YO.com site lists the just launched missions, including the shuttle, the automated transfer vehicle, and the progress. Those two other launches. But getting back to that that conference and the question about why doesn't the public know about the space program and so forth? You know, these classified missions the CIA are running, they're classified because first of all, they want to keep the publicity to a minimum so that it's not subject to terrorist attack, and secondly, they want to keep the knowledge of what the enemy knows about what we know about.
What we know about the enemy.
Yeah. So how are you supposed to advertise to the American public of the value added of that?
Well, one thing I'd like to see somebody do is on PBS maybe, or one of the other channels, you have a specialized space channel that's got news program, you know, what's happening in space now or something, which you don't have. That thing. Plus the other thing is, how much of the public is actually interested in any kind of scientific thing? You get a weekly thing I know, but that's about it, so. And
Well,
that's always running three, I'd say 3-4 months, maybe a year, 2 or 3 years behind what's actually happening, whatever the field is.
I used to have that same opinion, George, until I took a more mature view and said to myself, I think some of the public doesn't want to hear about it. Some of the public appreciates it for the scientific point of view, and then some of the public appreciates it for what the science can do in your daily life. And we really don't know how sophisticated the public is without talking with them. So,
And of course, you also make a few other comments about things on TV too, like American Idol, but we'll get into that one there.
It's not so easy to be.
Space,
Not so easy to be American Idol. Not so easy. Not so
To
easy.
me, it sounds more like the modern day version of the old Ted Max Amateur Hour,
Well, that's exactly what it is.
or maybe somebody used to have it.
Star Search.
Yeah,
remember that
one?
one?
$30.
Okay, so NASA has a Twitter feed, and they have a Facebook account, just in case you want to follow them and be in with the click. But is there any, before we wrap this up in 7 minutes, is there any other thing that people want to see covered?
Yes, I'm thinking about the idea of spacesuits, but I'm looking for material.
Spacesuit material?
Yeah, anything about space, but I'm trying to figure out the idea, because I'm down to Great Lakes Science Center once a week now.
Yeah,
I was in their shop last Science Tuesday, came in, there's a nice lecture, in fact, it was rather well attended too, by a professor from MIT talking about Mars. And we had a good, they really filled up the IMAX theater there. I keep on thinking for spacesuits, wonder if anybody got a large size poster showing what the inside of a spacesuit looks like. They sell the kids or somebody else there. Yeah, you know, you start on that and you're talking about spacesuits. Plus the other interesting thing I do is being downtown. I couldn't find it for a while downtown. Now I wasn't getting to downtown too much. The public library downtown used to be one of the best things for technical and other books. And now they have a really good space section there. Including an interesting book that was published about 1994, A History of U.S. Spacesuits. And nicely tech. If you get interested in that, look up spacesuits on the website for Clean Public Library System, and it is very nicely detailed on that. And it's technical detail that people interested in now have it. We have spacesuit images for spacesuits, different things.
There's some new concepts for spacesuits.
Oh, bioscope there, yeah. Spacesuit costumes, spacesuit the free encyclopedia.
Are there any women's miniskirt versions?
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting there is they're talking about how the shuttle flights, and I think the first Skylab that they flew, and also I think when they did the Soyuz Apollo flight, when they got the two capsules together, the spacesuits they were using on those Skylab, I think the early shuttles were all modified Apollo suits, or used the basic Apollo design there. Now they have their own shuttle design, and they had some nice detail about that. Because they got a Apollo spacesuit down at the, what? At the Great Lakes Science Center there too.
Natural diva.
Alright. But you got a whole interesting little problem with the spacesuits because you realize you have to have pressure inside your head to breathe in. But you also have to have pressure on the outside of the body to breathe out. So part of the thing that you're doing on what you have to do with spacesuits, you also have to have pressure on the outside of the body, so you're holding pressure thing. So in like 48 or late 30s with Wiley Post and his high altitude flights and the post World War II with the jets flying high, you go into the problem, you try to get the pressure on the outside of the inflated suit and be able to move everything, move your limbs, etc. Interesting to try to get into that. And keep on thinking, Nova's done something there, trying to find some site for Nova to keep going. And right now it's 8:43, which is about our closing time there. And the other suggestion they may like to try and see something, we'll see if we can find something there. Also, for an interesting thing, they have an interesting science fair going on in the Great Lakes at Cleveland State University in March. And it's sort of like a science fair for high school, college students there. And they
In real time, other of the data downlinked later. There's a communications coverage.
And if you look at the
and it will be studied by the specialists on the ground here in Houston.
And in September,
Looking to see if there are any areas that would require a further look, what's called a post inspection,
Plus, if you work
which
with
could be
animals, you have to
conducted
have
later in
just,
the mission after the
certain things. Here's
shuttle
what we do with the animals, here's how we're taking care of them, etc. So,
to be looking for any evidence of damage caused by any impact to the
society there, so.
the delicate thermal protection system tiles or the leading edge panels, the reinforced carbon panels. And then after docking, the shuttle's robotic arm will be down.
So they didn't really understand it until after it went down, and they did a test with their frozen foam, and they had the panel pad that they had a low forward edge of orbiter, and they had ground, they fired the thing at their expected speed. And they said, gee, I think that's cracked when you hit it with foam. Because given the strength of the foam and the carbon one doesn't expect the foam to crack the carbon.
It will be work in conjunction with the space station's robotic arm to
the computer when it gets
move items from the Nebula Bay out into position
Who won?
for the LC
I think
out
Watson
of
won.
the
If you're depending on speed of reaction,
to be
then
installed
I
on
wouldn't be
the
surprised
other
if
side
you're
of
doing so much
the Unity
knowledge. The other two guys probably had all the answers too, but they just couldn't press the buttons fast there.
That's like 2001, don't it?
A little bit. That or, what's the other one,
Hell 9000.
what's the other thing there?
Always one of those, the computer got mad that,
Oh,
no.
845.
Everything gets shut down.
Just think of program day yesterday,
Everything gets shut down,
TDS
shut
about
everything down.
Venom. Comes on at 9 o'clock.
The computer got mad that
I don't
shuts
think
everything
so.
down.
Oh,
Is that the one that Black Mama stays there or something?
no, this is something else.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw that one, probably should.
The fact that a box jellyfish has tentacles that are, 6 feet long?
Yeah.
And so instant death if you get stuck with one of those things because it's got every cell has like a needle in it. Projects outward if
Well,
it's
it depends
touched.
how many needles hit you too, because you also have a thing wrapped around.
Then they got this snail, a conch. It sends out a little harpoon, like a hypodermic needle, in its prey, and that's how it latches onto it. And, they claim that one guy picked one of these things up, and it shot the harpoon into his hand, and he died in 3 hours.
Maybe no medical help and no.
And here I'm thinking, remember this incident that happened about 30 years ago where this guy, Georgy Markov, got stabbed with an umbrella?
Oh, that one,
Yeah.
classic.
They should have had a conch shell in his hand. And,
Yeah. What they did was some kind of poison they had.
rice.
Now I go, okay, people, we're going to have to close up our meeting now. Grab the gear, et cetera, and put that together. And hopefully we'll get out, because at 9 o'clock tonight is supposedly when the winter storms, thing.
Oh, yeah.
And snow, I've heard anything from 8 inches to a foot.
Probably have to snow all my driveway before we go to work tomorrow.